is Psychopinion. Now your hosts, Jake, Rob, Steve, Jen, and sometimes Liza.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake, and welcome to Psychopinion. Tonight, we have a special host with us. We have Shawn Singletary, and he'll be filling in for Steve. And if we really like him, who knows if Steve will be back? No, I'm just kidding. We love Steve. But anyway, so this is my very, very good friend Shawn, and he's joining us tonight. And Shawn is you're a writer, you're a poet, you're an actor, come on, man, the list goes on and on and on.
I do stuff. I like to say I like to do stuff. So yeah, all the above. DJ, engineer, that kind of stuff. So yes.
This guy does everything. Everything.
Yeah.
This guy he's a fucking legend. Love this guy. All right, so Shawn, I wanted to go ahead and introduce you to the group. As I said, you were an actor, man. I wanted to kind of get right into it. This is a Psychopinion. We kind of base a lot of our conversations on horror, thriller, suspense, that kind of thing. I know that in the past you played a serial killer in a show. I wanted to go ahead and discuss that a little bit here in the beginning and kind of introduce you to the crowd and maybe get a good story out of you.
Absolutely. Oddly enough, you can find me on IMDb just to prove this too. I actually played a serial killer 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't ask me about the names off the top of my head, but I can kind of give you some of the scenarios. So the odd story was that started to become the running joke at my agency. Shouts out to Sylvia Hudson, Hudson Talent Agency up in Portsmouth, Virginia. So she would call me up and she would say, "Hey, I got a great part for you." And I'm like, "Awesome." And I'll never forget, I think in like 2 or 3 of the auditions I would walk in, they would look at my headshot, and then they'd look at me and they'd look at my headshot. Then they'd look at the guy I was playing, and then they go, "Yep, you got it." And that was the audition. I was like, "Wait, anything else?" They're like, "No, you got it." So then I would see the picture of the guy and then like what look I had, and I was like, "Oh yeah, wow, that's kind of close." So I've had to do some incredibly interesting things. And then I'll give you one interesting side story. I portrayed this one guy who he like had a fling with a bunch of different women, right? I arrive on set, and it just so happens that the bank teller that was supposed to play the part, the young lady who was supposed to play the part of the bank teller for this one particular scene, was a girl I had dated.
Wow.
It was like from several years back. And she walks in the door, she was like, "Hey," and she stopped talking to me. So I was like, this is weird. So we had a steamy sex scene that we were supposed to be doing for that one. And then fast forward several years later, I'm talking to one of my friends, and she overheard the story about the person I portrayed. And she goes, "I have a female friend that actually dated that guy." I said, "Dated who?" She said, "She actually dated the serial killer himself." I think at some point in his life, it got so bad, he ended up disfiguring his face. So I had to wear prosthesis and all this stuff. So I've got a myriad of stories. So I could go on and on.
Now, I remember you telling me, and this is the kind of show we do, so I want to bring this up. One of your roles, I think you had a scene where you were like sniffing some underwear or doing something like that. Tell us about
Yes. Okay, so that was okay. And I'm glad you brought that one up, because that was the guy from Connecticut. And at the time when we had to film it, it wasn't snowing in Connecticut. So they flew the whole group up to Alaska. It was like -10 degrees up there.
Ooh,
so
boy.
we went up there, and there was a scene where, like, right before the cops showed up, I'll never forget it, because I didn't remember seeing it in the script. So then they got there and they handed me this garbage bag and they said, "Sniff these." And I stopped and I looked and I was about to, and then I stopped. I went, "Wait, are these used?" Because that's information I need to know, right? So they were like, no, they're new. I was like, "You promise?" Because I don't want to stick my nose in this if it's not. There was a scene where I ended up sniffing some underwear, but the really interesting part of that story is in the middle of the scene was the guy had murdered several women in Connecticut. And then at the end of it, a reporter was like speaking to him, just him in general, because he was a widely known suspect, but he had kept denying it. And then at the end of the interview, she said, "Well, why do you think the killer is going to stop?" And he says on recording, I don't want to stop. So it was almost like a confession, right? So the guy goes to jail, and that's when we filmed this whole thing. I think it was 2 years after that, my agent calls me back and she says, Shawn, would you believe that same guy was released from prison on DNA evidence that said he wasn't the killer at all?
Oh.
And I said, wait, if he wasn't the killer, then why did he confess all that stuff? Nobody knows.
Wow.
So I told you, weird stuff, strangest stuff in the world. I never understood that.
That is strange. Hopefully he doesn't come try to find you because he liked how well you played him. And he wants
right? He was like, you played me incorrectly. Hey, dude, you were innocent anyway. Leave me alone. I don't want nothing.
So that's a good question I have right there is you said played incorrectly, which makes me think, how does one, I've never been in a show or a movie, I'm not an actor, but how do you go about getting your inspiration for the role? How do you go about playing that person? Where do you get your kind of mannerisms from or sort of what you're going to do?
So, and I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of times it's kind of been difficult, like interacting with people after you tell them you're an actor. But I think the best way to describe it is actors always tell the truth, but lawyers are the ones that usually lie. And what I mean by that is if you look at your favorite actors, they're literally just playing themselves if they were that person. Denzel Washington doesn't change the way he walks. I'm forgetting his name now. Al Pacino is a great one. Al Pacino is exactly the same person. He's just that person if he put on the skin of this other person, that's all. So I literally just step into, I guess, the deeper, more seedy parts of who I am, because all of us have it. We just might not admit it.
I'm a fucking angel, Shawn.
I know you are. You're a sweetheart.
I'm an angel.
You're an absolute angel. So was the devil. So
nice one.
So when it comes to portraying a character, realistically, all I do is I ask myself the question, if I were this person, what would I do? And then I read up on everything that this person did. And then I don't try to be them. I try to be me if I were them. And it makes it feel more real for me. Now, the scariest part about being an actor is you have to find a way to come back from that because that's not who you are. And in a lot of times you'll hear stories of how some actors go way too far into it and never come back out because sometimes they forget of what their reality is and kind of forget the line. Almost like the movie Inception, where they have that little in the movie they have the
spinning top.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So you have to remind yourself, this is not real. I'm just portraying a character, but you have to make it real enough for yourself that even down to the way I walked or the way I felt about things, I would ask myself the question, if I were this type of person, what would I do? Sometimes it would be almost separate from who I really am. Like there are nice things I would do. So like, for instance, if I was playing the serial killer character and I'm being arrogant, I'm not opening the door for women, though Shawn Singletary would. I'm arrogant. I'm expecting her to open the door for me, that kind of thing. So once you get an understanding of that and understand how your decisions would change, then it almost becomes fluid. And you say to yourself, okay, this is what I would do if I were that type of person.
Unless you're Gary Oldman, then you literally fucking can become anybody at any time.
I mean, Gary Oldman is, I promise you, he is he is not celebrated near enough for the amount of stuff that he's done. Even stuff like Fifth Element, I mean, his portrayal in Book of Eli, he's unrealistically fantastic in even the most simple things that he does. His mannerisms, the way he talks, he doesn't use a lot of words. Even when he played the commissioner for Batman, he's just very fluid. But all of those are the same person. He's still just being himself.
I don't know, man. We definitely, or at least I definitely taught Gary Oldman up enough. I'm hoping one day maybe somebody will I don't know, bring him to me for Christmas or something because I love that man.
I think my favorite is when I saw that they did Prada did a fashion show and they invited all of like the real villains because they had this villains collection, and Gary Oldman was one of the first ones they put in this amazing suit it was stellar. So yeah, I think he deserves more flowers than what he gets.
He's the fucking man. He's probably,
Was
in my
it-
opinion.
Was it for his role as Dracula?
I think so. Yes, absolutely.
Which we've discussed
Man.
on the show. Well, Gary Oldman,
yeah.
I gotta say, and I've said this 100 times, but he may not be like my all-time favorite actor, but I do believe he's probably the best actor in my opinion. And I may like some other people a little bit better, but I mean, fucking nobody, in my opinion, beats his acting ability.
His
But-
range is just far superior, it seems.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree to that.
Did you guys have any questions for Sean, the serial killer, before we move on to Sean, the other guy I'm going to bring up? Good. Rob, I know you're thinking something. What do you think?
Well, just I know you mentioned pulling yourself back as an actor from the character. Glad you were able to do that. But also, like, it's something that is it does happen. Like that happened to Heath Ledger. Like his he got into a role that was so dark and twisted, and he it was actually, I think, the Joker from Batman, and he would look at disfigured corpses and look at it until he found something funny. And then after the role, he was just having endless nightmares every single night. And he couldn't pull himself back. He couldn't pull himself back to who he was.
Yeah.
And that's not something I feel like people talk about enough. Especially when you're playing dark roles too.
Yeah.
Always leave yourself a line back to reality. I like that.
Absolutely. And I think the scary, especially for most of those actors who fall into that pit, is especially when they enhance the experience, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what makes it more difficult for you to come back. If you're not properly regulating what you're using, that kind of stuff, and you don't have somebody on the outside to help you come back, sometimes it can be really bad, and you will forget who you are.
Damn, that sounds intense. I was actually going to move on to another movie, and this is a movie that I actually enjoy very much. Whenever I miss Sean, I pop it in, or sometimes I just watch it because it's an enjoyable film. But Sean actually had a role in the movie Imperium with Daniel Radcliffe, movie about basically Daniel Radcliffe went undercover to try to infiltrate some neo-Nazis construction, and I wanted to discuss that a little bit because, you know, that was definitely a great film. I love your character in it. Actually, you didn't have a huge, I really did enjoy you in that movie. You got any stories about that you want to share with us, or?
Yeah, actually, so interestingly enough, that was shot in Hopeville, Virginia. And while we were shooting it, it was almost 50 years to the day that we were shooting those scenes when they did the KKK rally and the FBI agent was pointing at me and stuff. They had an actual KKK rally in that same spot on the front steps of that same courtroom, almost 50 years to the day. And then there were people who were driving by and didn't realize we were shooting a film and thought it was a real KKK rally. So like we had to like explain to people, no, we're just filming. And it got weird sometimes. There were scenarios where I had my own trailer at the time because I think I was on set for like 3 or 4 days, and I had my own trailer. And one day I walked in my trailer and there was like one of the neo-Nazi outfits in there. And I was like, I think you stuck this in the wrong trailer. I'm messing up. So, and then I remember Daniel Radcliffe, by the way, and I tell everybody who's a Harry Potter fan or anybody I run across, he is an absolutely phenomenal human being. Point blank, period. Like for him to be as rich and as famous and as established as an actor as he is from such a young age, he never let it get to his head. He was the nicest guy. Like I'll never forget when I first met him. I was in the wardrobe trailer because I knew a lot of the wardrobe people and a lot of the background from previous shoots, and they were like, "Hey, they need you on set, so you know we're not going to do your makeup now. We'll do it later." So I went to get up and I was about to walk out the door. And as I went to reach for the door was snatched out of my hand. And sure enough, it was Daniel Radcliffe standing there. He goes, "Oh, hey, you're Sean, right?" And I'm giddy like a little schoolgirl. I'm like, "Oh my God, he knows my name." It was so cool. because he literally takes the time to know the people that he's working with. And I thought that was really dope because most people don't. I've been on other sets with other actors, and luckily for me, all the ones that I've been on set with are really the nicest people in the world to all the background. I was lucky enough in this particular case to be able to actually exchange lines with him. So we had a short role together. But even up to the point where I was about to leave, I told his bodyguard, who was ex-special British forces.
Ooh.
And I asked him, I pulled him to the side and I said, so is he always like this? And he laughed and he was like, yeah, this is pretty much the easiest job I've ever had in my entire life. Like it's phenomenal to work for this dude.
Nice.
So so I'll give you a perfect example. Right before I was about to leave, I was standing at my trailer and I just wanted to say goodbye because this was the last time I was going to see him. And it started to rain. And I glanced over, and I guess by now the news had spread around that he was in town. So there was a line of like young girls and family members and all people like just waiting to just catch a glimpse of him. So I knew where his trailer was. His bodyguard came out, and I saw him. I said, hey, is Daniel available? I just wanted to say goodbye. He said, yeah, give me 1 second. So he walks past me, he goes out to the line, and then he comes back with this stack of stuff in his hand. And he goes back into the trailer. He talks to Daniel for a minute. Daniel, and this is a true story. I hope I'm not embarrassing him, but fuck it, whatever. Daniel comes stumbling out of his trailer with his zipper down. And he is high as shit. He was like, hey, man, what's up? And I was like, hey, I'm about to leave. Your zipper's down. He was like, oh, shit. So he turns around, and I kind of cover him because all the girls were looking. And he zips his pants. He was like, oh, man, it was so great to work with you. I really appreciate it. By the way, I want to apologize again. And this is the other thing. So they had to call me the N-word with the hard R like 100 times for every time they did it, right? Every single time they did it, he would come and apologize. That's the kind of guy he was. Every single time he'd be like, hey, Shawn, I'm sorry. I was like, yo, bro, let's go get this money. Don't worry about it. So he gives me a big hug. He apologizes again. I was like, look, it was great to, talk to you. I appreciate you. Great show. And then he walked off and it was just super great. And then I realized when he went back to his trailer, the reason his bodyguard went out to the group of people is in order to keep pandemonium down. He collected all the stuff that they wanted him to sign.
Oh, wow.
And he took it back to his trailer, and Daniel literally signed all of it for him to take it back out. He himself didn't go out there because he knew he would cause a scene, but he at least wanted to give them something. And I was like, man, see, that's the kind of forethought that a real person, like, he didn't want to cut them off from the ability to actually interact with him, but it was a great time. And then on premiere night, you had mentioned, like, I did have a short part, but we had a longer scene. So when I got there for premiere night, this one young lady came up to me and she was like, oh my God, you had such an amazing part in there. And I was like, thank you. And I had been saying that all night, but then she said something interesting to me. She stops and goes, I wish I didn't have to cut it short though.
Oh. And
I was like, who are you again? And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm the editor. And she was like, I was like, oh, wow. Like, oh, yeah. I loved your scene. But the only reason we had to cut it out was because we had to keep it at a certain limit on the length of the movie. And I was like, man, because we had a strong back and forth between me and him during the winery scene. Because in the film, I play a guy named Tim, and I own the wine shop that he comes into. And before he becomes an agent, so then before he goes undercover, so after he goes undercover and I see him again, it's like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? So that's when we have our back and forth exchange. So it was a dope scene though.
That's too bad, man. I wish they had kept that in. I would have liked to have seen that.
Oh yeah, it was pretty cool. It's nice.
Too bad, man. I'm sorry about that. But it's funny that the editor was like, yeah, I'm the one that cut it.
Yeah, I was out of there.
I loved it, but I had to cut it.
Yeah, but I had to cut it. And I was like, well, at least you're the editor. You probably see shit all the time. So
at least you liked it. Thank you.
Right.
Else would.
All right.
Well, anyway, did you guys have anything else, or do you guys want to go ahead and we'll get on with fan theories? Jen, you got something, Jen?
Me?
You got any notes on this?
On what exactly?
I'm just teasing you about being the note taker.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have like 0 notes. I didn't think I needed them today.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's okay. So a little bit about Jen, Sean, is that the gooier the better. That's been the ongoing joke. She likes
Yeah.
everything in horror movies that's gooey, slimy, or gross.
All right. Nice. Okay.
So
I,
you ever
I
get
like other things too, but I am known as the goo girl.
the goo
Oh,
girl?
I gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Goo girl.
Well, just as a gauge, can I get everybody's like horror film favorites?
Shit. Good call. I was actually going to ask
Okay.
yours.
I will
Damn,
just
I'm
do
glad.
a round
I'm glad you
robin.
reminded me. Well, I'm going to have to go ahead and say that I've got a land and a sea. I've got a little bit of a surf and turf situation going on with my favorite horror movies. And that's that if we're doing the surf, it's Jaws. And if we're doing the turf, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So,
Nice pick.
and actually, I do prefer the remake with Jessica Biel because holy fuck, she was hot in that. And it was just a very well done film.
Very, very good point. Absolutely. I did like it.
I guess I'll go next. My golden standard for all horror is Event Horizon.
Here we go.
Oh, wow.
I love sci-fi, space, everything like that. And just a self-conscious ship that has traveled through hell and spreads it to the minds of everyone that go inside of it is just amazing. It's my favorite
Great idea.
story. I love it.
Yes, I loved it too. This is one of my personal favorites. Yes.
Well, you can't have the same favorite, so you better think of another one, Sean.
Oh no, I do. I've got a couple other ones. Well, I'm sorry, Jen. I wanted to hear hers.
Okay,
Ladies first.
I'm gonna.
Sean.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna pick
I just dove
two
right
as
in.
well.
Should I pick
So
No, Rob, shut up.
Well-
You get one.
I get two. I've always loved The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. So that's always been like my number one. I also just recently rewatched Dead Alive, not to be confused with Evil Dead, which I also love, but Dead Alive when I'm feeling campy. 'Cause that was a little more campy.
You're feeling slimy and gooey. It's all about the thing.
It's so
It's all
gooey, that one. A lot of blood.
Slimy, gooey, hilarious.
Yes. Nice. I'm actually surprised. So one of my guys that worked for me at a previous job, the Terrifier series actually caught my attention. Yeah,
Cool.
and I'm surprised Jen didn't say that. So that one there were some moments in that bad boy I was like, that
for
was
sure. For
Ooh.
sure, there was moments.
Ooh, as a matter of fact, I
actually-
think they're doing another one.
I actually didn't even watch
think
that
they
until
are.
we did our clown episode. And when we did our clown episode, I watched like a whole bunch of clown movies I had never seen. And that was the first time I saw Terrifier, and it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There were some definitely there were some gory scenes in that. I
There was
appreciated
some
them.
really gory scenes. Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
that one
The
shot up
splitting
to
of
like
the woman.
With the
The woman
hacksaw.
like
One.
split.
ooh.
Yeah.
Did anybody else think that was sexy? Oh,
it's
silence.
kinda-
Sorry.
Nope. Just-
Anyway, go ahead. Move on.
Wasn't that sexy. I would say it was kind of sexy, but coming from the serial killer, it doesn't sound like much. So whatever.
As long as you got to sniff the panties afterward.
Nice.
I
So
love I was going to say, I love the Terrifier. The first one, the second one was a little weak for, reasons I won't go on about here. But yeah, I mean, I love clowns. I thought Terrifier 1 especially was pretty solid.
So I also fell in love with watching a lot of the. So somebody turned me on to. I don't know if you've ever seen these on YouTube, but I used to love these when I would go on lunch because I'm asocial. Sometimes I would stay away from people and just go eat lunch in my car. And I would watch these like 10, 15-minute clips on YouTube of like Dust or Omeletto. And they have some, as a matter of fact, some of their short films, but some of them have converted into actual films. One of the ones, it was one of my favorites called Alone. It's actually been on Netflix. They turned it into a whole film. But I remember the short film that it was built off of, where this girl decides to go camping. And like in the short film, she goes camping by herself But when she comes home to develop the film from the little camera that she bought, she sees pictures of herself as if somebody else took them.
Ooh, creepy.
Ooh.
And that was the end of the film. And I was
Ooh.
like, yo, what? So that kind of horror also gets me. I like stuff where it's like, oh, that shit could have been horrible. There's another one that I just saw recently in the I think it was the Omeletto or the Dust anthology that they put on there. Is this girl's at home and she's standing in her kitchen. It's like late at night, and this weird guy just walks up to her window and like he's got this wily-eyed look in his face, and he kind of looks at her and then just kind of looks around inside the house and tries to open the window with her standing there. She was like, "Who are you?" And he won't respond, right? So then he goes for the front door. She naturally forgot she left the front door open because who the fuck does that, right? So she slams the door on him, locks the door just in time. She calls 911, but as she's calling 911, she can see him out the window, and he goes to the next door neighbor's house, who just happens to leave the front door open. He comes back outside, grabs something with him, goes back in the house. You hear the scuffling. Then he walks outside with somebody's head, looks at her, and keeps walking. That's the end of the film. Shit like that.
Wow, that sounds pretty good.
I like stuff like that. I like little snippets and stuff. I've seen a couple of them where they did horror films that turned into something bigger, like short films. There was one that I really liked on there called Piggy. That one turned into an actual full-length film.
I saw that one, yeah.
And did you see the full-length film?
Yeah, that's what I watched.
I thought the full-length film was really good. I was like, this is great shit.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
There's
that was a good
a
one.
lot. I like the underground stuff because it's not restricted by other people's opinions and the critics think this suck. And I know that they're pushing the limits to try to get their name out there. So that's the stuff I start looking for now.
Yeah, critics don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I mean,
90% of the time.
we come up here and we criticize movies and shit, and I mean, what the fuck do we know? We're just people that like movies, so I mean,
right.
That's pretty much how it is.
I do have a question for Shawn. Since you do like short films that can be kind of processed into something else, have you ever heard of the VHS series?
Yes, I have. And I've seen, I think, one of them, and I've been meaning to go back and watch some of the other ones because, those were kind of.
The way you were mentioning how, these short films, how great they are, and sometimes they can be something better. The fact that these movies are just like a dozen mini movies all popped into one, and then they slowly kind of have an overarching feel that is the VHS movie. Just you were talking about it, just made me think VHS, and it's also one of my favorites of all time. So
I
had to make sure you were aware of them. So
yes,
Rob had to sneak that second one in there.
I like that. Yeah, I definitely got to go back and see it now again. Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you, Jake. I'm gonna tell you my second one somehow. Okay, all right, touche, man, touche.
I like it.
All right, well. That was definitely, we definitely need to discuss that. I'm glad you reminded me that I was actually going to bring that up, and I'm glad you did.
Nice.
So, are you guys ready for these couple fan theories we got here? Discussing them, kind of seeing what you think, what the validity of these things are, kind of like we did in the last episode. I'd love to get everybody's take, including Shawn, on this. So, this is kind of the big one. I've heard this from a lot of people, and I feel like this is going to be a really fun one to talk about. And I'm sure you guys have heard about it once I bring it up too. But the idea that Mary Poppins and Pennywise are from the same universe.
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna give a little bit of background to this so that we have some stuff here to discuss some points. But both Mary Poppins and Pennywise have the same power to use what lurks in children's minds, either for good or evil. Mary Poppins taps into their imagination while Pennywise manipulates their fear. They also have similar skill sets. In both movies, each lures children to them by captivating the attention of the young boy named Georgie. Obviously, Mary Poppins returns Georgie's fares better than Billy's young brother in It. Okay, having a hard time reading. Mary Poppins returns to 17 Cherry Tree Lane after 25 years, while Pennywise returns to Derry every 27 years. Mary Poppins manages to maintain energy for 25 years despite interacting with fewer children than Pennywise requires for 27 years, as she relies on children's joy, unlike Pennywise, who relies on their fear. That's proven in, oh, sorry, this also includes Monsters, Inc., by the way. It's all supposedly in Monsters, Inc. rules, like kind of in the same, I guess, this theory in particular.
Good point.
So children's laughter is worth more than their fear. That's why they brought that in there, I guess, to explain why Mary Poppins has more energy than Pennywise. In both cases, those impacted by their supernatural guests ultimately forget or misremember their time with Mary Poppins or Pennywise. Banks children remember her only as a nanny without any magical powers. The Losers Club forget their childhoods almost altogether. Both characters have a penchant for song and dance. After all, Pennywise calls himself the dancing clown, uses his moves to terrify the children. Because she's nice, Mary Poppins enchants the Banks children with technicolor, dreamlike musicals. In addition, both Mary Poppins and Pennywise have reflections that can animate and operate separately from themselves. Pennywise has something called the Deadlights, which when looked into will essentially render their subject frozen. Pennywise uses it on Beverly in the first It movie. Mary Poppins has no such thing. However, in Mary Poppins Returns, she does create an entire fleet of lamplighters. And trip a little light fantastic, the lamplighters are proven to be a creation when Michael, played by Ben Whishaw, looks out the window and sees only Mary and the children. Another icon of the It movies are the red balloons that precede Pennywise's return. In the final moments of Mary Poppins Returns, the characters all grab balloons and float magically into the air. The parallels are eerily similar, and the theory is compelling. The characters are inherently two sides of the same coin. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, if you're a huge Mary Poppins fan, it's highly unlikely that Disney would let a character as respectable as Mary Poppins fraternize with the likes of Pennywise. He doesn't play well. So anyway, this is like the biggest theory. I mean, it's got like the most evidence, or at least like when I was going through all the fan theories, there's a lot behind this one, even though it's like they said, Disney, whatever. But anyway, what are your opinions on this one, guys? Anybody start?
It's fitting. Yeah, I love it. It's so much of what makes each of them stand out as amazing. They both have it. The amount of similarities is really kind of shocking. I wouldn't have ever thought of putting them together like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was a great idea. And then the fact that you tied in Monsters Inc. too.
Now, I think that this really doesn't work for me unless they actually make a Mary Poppins versus Pennywise film. I need to see that. I would like to see maybe Pennywise come back and Mary Poppins shows up and they kind of somehow track each other down and they, I don't know, maybe build kid armies and Pennywise has a bunch of zombie kids and Mary Poppins has a bunch of happy little fuckers, with umbrellas and shit. And maybe they go to war and it could be like the epic good versus evil kind of scenario. I think that's how it should play out.
Like Aliens versus Predator or Freddy Krueger versus Jason. That would be. I'd love that shit. That'd be amazing.
As we learned from those movies, there's never an actual winner, but I think in this case it should probably be Mary Poppins because if one thing we know from Disney is that good will always prevail.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jen, what do you got on this? You're kind of quiet down there.
Well, I mean, I think it's a cute theory, but I don't really. I think it's like overreaching. I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying. All these like kind of similarities. They're kind of like two opposites or whatever. But
I just read it. I didn't say it.
Yeah, true. But I think that people they want to see them like kind of go head to head or whatever. They want the similarities. They want to see these similarities. Like I said, though, it's just a cute theory. I don't mind. I mean, I like thinking about it. And like you said, if they ever did like a movie, Mary Poppins versus Pennywise, hell yeah, I would watch that. Um, but I don't. Nah, it's just not for me.
No, it's not for you.
It's not for me.
It might be
You
the
know
most
what would be
epic.
interesting is if it didn't become a movie. Wouldn't it be great if they were Mortal Kombat characters?
Oh hell yeah! And the umbrella.
That would. Oh,
Yes.
if you're not gonna give me the movie,
and
Put him in
balloons.
Mortal Kombat.
put them in Mortal Kombat. You put everybody else in Mortal Kombat.
Dude, I've been in Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat.
The Terminator. Like you've had all kinds of characters in there. Give Pennywise a minute. Mary Poppins versus Pennywise in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Oh, you
It'd be
imagine
fantastic.
what the fatalities would look like.
I'm
I
down
mean,
for
I'd
that.
even be willing to have them in Smash Brothers.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll
I'm gonna
take
say
it.
there's that Warner Brothers Smash Brothers type game called Multiverses, which has like Superman, Spike
Yep.
the Gremlin,
Yeah.
the Iron Giant. I think they're adding like the agent from the Matrix
Ooh.
to it. They're adding
Ooh.
Leatherface.
Leatherface.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Leatherface versus Spike the Gremlin. That'd be fucking sick.
What if it was just a video game with nothing but horror film characters?
Oh,
I mean,
love
I
that.
understand there will be a licensing
For
disaster, but
sure.
what if we just had something where you just did nothing but like all horror films of every type? Like, oh,
You know,
even Jaws with like a
they've
man body or
come
some shit.
Close with Dead by Daylight. They've come close. And then, of course, there was the Mortal Kombat with all the
Yeah.
cameos for horror movies.
Yeah.
What was that? Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah.
But no, I see what like just have nothing but the horror characters.
And then all the backgrounds are like scenes from each one of the movies.
Yeah.
now I'm gonna be
locales.
honest.
Yeah, I would love that.
I stopped
sure.
buying video games at PS2. I literally still have a PS2 hooked up. I've got a shitload of PS2 games. Rob's been here. He's seen it. He knows. I would probably upgrade my system if they made that fucking game just so I could whoop some ass as a leprechaun.
Oh, good one. Oh,
Hey,
Oh.
I'm really glad we're on this subject because I don't know if you guys know, but they made a game with Puppet Master.
Oh,
So the Puppet Master characters, yeah, it's on Steam. I have played that one, not for very long though, because the controls are a little weird, you know.
Yeah.
That one's free, so that is free on
okay.
Steam. At least I think it's still free. Don't quote me on that. But when I went to play it, it was free. And it has some coolness to it, you know, because you get to like pick your character, you get to be, you know, any of like the characters. Oh, they even have I can't talk. They even have the demonic toys as ones that you can pick from as well.
I think the little guy with the black hat and the fucking drill man.
Yes.
Okay, because he was
Yes.
my favorite.
Yes. he
Okay.
is
I
in
don't
there.
know who he is, but I like him.
Oh, what is his name?
Black hat guy with the
I
drill man.
can't think of his name right now.
Little helmet
I
head.
used to really like the leech woman. I can't think of any of them's names right now.
Leech woman.
So I'm
Sounds like
looking up
Yeah, the
some of that.
girl with the leech, and she would like throw it up.
Yeah, that sounds like your kind of thing, Jim. You always like, you always like that
Totally my
nasty
thing.
shit.
I
It was
wonder why
so-
it's your favorite. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, with video games, they did just release one. Jake's talking about, I stopped
And I was
PS2.
about to talk about another one too. Go ahead.
PS3,
You're gonna
PS4,
say it.
PS5.
You're gonna say
They
it.
just released a game called Killer Clowns from
Clowns
Mars.
from outer space.
Yeah,
Yep.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I want to cut you off there and say that you were cutting in and out, and it sounded like you said penis 3, penis 4, and penis 5. I just want to make that clear. On my end, I literally thought you were talking about penises for a second.
If I take my pants off, it looks like Cthulhu. So
There you go. Cthulhu penis. You
But yeah,
slapped some goo on that.
it's
you might have
Killer Clowns
Have
from
you
Outer
played it?
Space. I have not.
I haven't either.
It
But
just
I
came
saw
out
it
like
on
in the last
Yeah.
like a
month.
week or I think it was a week ago.
Yeah, no,
something like that.
2 weeks ago. It's an interesting. I've watched a lot of videos for it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah, the graphics are actually not that bad.
Are you looking at it right now?
Yeah, I Googled it real quick and it came up.
Yeah, you
Wow.
get to either play as the clowns or as the humans, try to survive. It has a lot of fun mechanics, so if you end up dying, it's not the end of the world. You just sit there. It's a lot of stuff to keep you busy and have fun. It looks really good.
Yeah, wow. The graphics are incredible. Actually, they're
Yeah.
not bad.
I guarantee you, it's the best clown game from outer space that there is.
That's
That
really
one-
narrowing the market.
That one does
100%.
look better than the Puppet Master one.
Yeah,
Like
I didn't.
visually.
Let me see if I can find the trailer from that one.
Literally,
Oh,
the
Puppet
last game
Master?
I played was
Yeah.
God of War on
Yeah.
PS2. So
He said if they come out with it on PS2, it's a wrap.
yeah, see if they're going to come out with a new PS2 game.
Oh, Puppet versus Puppet. Yeah, this one looks pretty wicked too.
Just said that, and I just thought of fucking Mayhem and Muppets, like Fozzie and Kermit fucking just going at it or something.
Ah!
Oh, I
That would've
just
been a
watched.
great game.
I just watched. This is not really horror related. But I just watched the documentary of Jim Henson. It made me cry.
I looked at that. That looked like it was
Made
pretty
me
good.
cry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to check that out.
yeah. I definitely cried.
Don't cry, Jen.
What platform was it on?
Disney.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I think I passed that when I was getting to Bluey or Gigantosaurus. So
Yeah, that one just came out as well, like pretty recently.
I did want to add in here really quick that if you ever listen to our recommendations, because at the end of the show we usually give a movie recommendation of something that we really enjoyed horror related. I just wanted to say that Jen recommended the movie Lowlifes, and I actually did watch that just a couple nights ago.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I actually thought it was a really good movie. I liked the spin in it, and I liked the fact that it looked like it was going in the direction of a lot of different horror movies, but it did do a little bobbing and weaving on you, and I thought it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, when I watched that movie, I was like, I bet Jake's gonna like this movie.
I did like that movie. I liked it a lot, actually. I thought it was really good.
I'm gonna have to check it out too. Yeah, this
Yeah.
looks really good.
It's cannibals.
It's about
What?
cannibals,
Yes,
And-
about
Okay.
cannibals.
which is an ongoing topic on this show for sure.
Yeah.
We like to talk about cannibals,
We like to talk about people who eat people.
pretty much. Speaking of which, we're actually going to be having an episode coming up soon where we did an interview with Joe Rodriguez, who's the brother of Gilberto Valle, who was the cannibal cop in New York City, if you remember that case. We actually just recently did a really good interview with him. I'm working on the editing and stuff. Hopefully it'll be out within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But that is also cannibal related, so it fits into the moment. And I also get to plug a future show. So
Yeah.
here's that.
Nice.
Nice. Nice. I like it.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to another fan theory I found here. And this one I'm going to go ahead and shoot down almost right away. But I do think it was kind of an interesting theory. But it is basically what it comes down to is the movie Signs with Mel Gibson. M. Night Shyamalan, who you all know is one of my favorite directors. Fucking love me some Shyamalan.
Yep.
I always back him up. We had a conversation about that last time I saw you, Sean.
Yeah.
Shyamalan's
I love
man.
it.
And so basically what they're saying about this movie is that the aliens are not aliens. They're saying that with the religious undertones of the movie, which there are many, Mel Gibson being a, minister or reverend and all of that, that there are actually not aliens, but they're demons. And that's why they're killed by the water that is around the farmhouse, is because since Mel used to be a minister, that it would be considered holy water because
Holy water.
Oh.
that's the land.
I see.
Okay.
Yep. I can see that. Okay.
The only reason I'd shoot that down is because, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a minute since I've seen Signs, but I did watch it quite frequently at one point in time. Weren't there like news reports and everything that the aliens are being taken down all over the place because of water? It wasn't
Yes.
that like scene in the movie? So that's why I'm saying it'll be shot down right away. I think it's a really interesting idea, and that's why I wanted to share it, but I don't think it was just necessarily the farmhouse water that killed the aliens.
Right. Right.
Or
I see that.
That would be worth a rewatch. Because I have not seen that since it came out, and that was a long time ago.
It's
Yeah,
been a
definitely.
solid
So
20 years.
yeah,
20
Yeah.
years.
I haven't
20
seen
Probably,
years.
probably
Pretty
about
much
20, yeah.
about the same time.
Jesus, that movie was great. I'd probably watch that at least once a year.
I don't know. For me, it was
Have
why
you-
would aliens go to a planet that's like, I don't know, 80% water?
Because it's got that one scene where they show the fucking alien
Yeah,
coming
that's
out
kinda
from behind
dumb.
the fucking fence that freaks everybody out. Joaquin Phoenix, fucking great movie,
I
man.
don't know. I'm not. It was
Yeah.
great. It was great to watch the
Got-
first time.
Got one of those
Uh,
Culkin little fuckers running around in there, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
2002. Yeah, it's about 22 years old. Yeah.
Well then, I guess
Been
we
a hot
are
minute.
not on the same page.
Aw.
So
No, I mean, I agree. It seems a little far fetched unless they said that the aliens that they were being taken down by priests. I would have been like, okay, I can see that. But
By
yeah, it's a
holy
little,
water,
yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Like if they said only the aliens that were near churches were
Mhm.
affected, then it would have been. I'd have been like, all right, I can see that. But
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. But no, I think Jake makes an incredible point.
Yeah.
Like, you had to stretch it to make that one fit.
I think the incredible point I made is that that's a great movie that people should watch. Whatever.
Because it was in my Shyamalan.
I mean, M. Night Shyamalan is the best fucking director, in my opinion, or at least he's in the top fucking 5.
Absolutely.
Jen, what's that face about? What are you doing?
What? Oh,
I say
I
down there
forgot.
because on my
I
screen,
forgot that
you're
I make-
right below me. Yeah,
I
you
do
just
make
made
a lot of
this
faces.
You made this face that was like,
well, you guys already know how I feel about him. I've said it like at least twice on this show.
I
Hit or
haven't heard it.
miss. Hit or miss.
we're usually
um,
drunk on this show. Jen.
Some. I'm not drunk right now. I am sober.
Me neither.
But yeah, like for me it's hit or
Like,
miss.
concentrate.
Sometimes he does things really like like in a very clever way, a very clever twist.
Yeah.
And other times I'm just like, it's just not for me. Like, I mean, movies in itself are, it's like art and it's subjective, and not everybody's gonna like the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, the thing I like about Shyamalan is especially in his more recent movies, there's you're always expecting the Shyamalan twist.
right, what a
Uh,
twist!
yeah. So like, I know in a lot of movies recently, like I'm expecting it, and I don't see the twist like at all. It's
The
just
twist
a
is that there's
movie.
no fucking twist.
The twist is there's
Oh.
no twist,
Oh.
Mind blown. The Shyamalan mind blow.
but he always has something
gotcha.
unique. He's always got
Yeah.
something fresh, something unique to give.
Most of the time,
So
yeah.
he's got a new movie coming up. I think The Watchers, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited
Yeah.
for it. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
go
watch
see
it. I
Yeah.
am gonna
I'm
watch
excited
it
for everything the
sure.
guy does, except
Yeah.
for Lady in the Water. He's fucking brilliant.
Right.
Besides that one movie,
Well, we can agree on that. I hated
Yeah,
that as well.
I think that's universally hated.
yeah.
nobody liked that movie.
That
Nobody
A lot of
did.
people didn't. A lot of people didn't like The Happening. I still liked it, but I mean, I get why it wasn't that liked. But fucking Knock at the
Happening.
Cabin. What?
Amazing.
I haven't seen
that
that yet.
movie was
Absolutely.
incredible. You haven't
That's
seen
one of-
Knock at the
I've not,
Cabin?
I have not seen it yet. No.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
It's
that was
one of
good.
newish. It's newish.
That movie cemented for me the fact that Batista is a fucking actor. He is
Oh,
a
yeah.
fucking player.
Oh yeah.
Always has been.
For a
always
guy
will be.
for a guy that big to play that gentle, covered completely in tattoos, that huge, and to seem so meek and
Mhm.
believable as a teacher, like
Yeah.
when they saw him come through
He
the
got
door
it.
to audition for that part, I would love to be in the room and be like, who asked this motherfucker to show up? You can't play a teacher, and then for him to put on something to make me believe you're like a school teacher. Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, but he was very eloquent in it, and honestly,
Absolutely.
Extremely, yeah.
I'm not saying that I didn't think he was an actor before, but I'm saying that I thought that movie really showed some range. That's all I'm saying.
That showed range. Absolutely.
I'll have to
Right.
watch it.
He
And
wanted to
also-
do something that wasn't an action movie, just to
Yeah.
show everyone
Something different.
that he doesn't
Yeah.
have to do action to be a good actor.
No, he
No.
did. But to bring it full circle, we also had a Weasley appear.
Yes.
The Weasley appear
Oh,
in the movie.
Weasley.
So that brings us
Oh.
back to Harry Potter.
Potter.
Brings us back
Which
to
is-
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brings us back
Very
to Sean.
nice.
So know, making connections everywhere, the Kevin Bacon thing, but with Shawn Singletary, just did it. Boom. Done. 10 degrees of Shawn Singletary.
Nice. I like it.
So, all right, here's an interesting one. Did you guys see the remake specifically of A Nightmare on Elm Street?
A remake.
I did not, weirdly enough.
Mm.
I feel like that movie was made for me. And I just missed it.
A lot of people were mad because it wasn't Robert Englund.
Right.
And it wasn't the typical fucking, which I think is douchey, the typical douchey Freddy Krueger. I actually enjoyed it because, well, A, I like remakes, and B, I really never cared much for Freddy Krueger's character. I thought this was a lot more on the level that I wanted it to be. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
So anyway, while A Nightmare on Elm Street had one of the most disappointing franchise reboots, fuck you, in recent years, the original film continues to be a cult classic horror movie. This iconic original features the terrifying Freddy that specifically targets Nancy Thompson in her dreams. Many fans have speculated on why Freddy chose to target Nancy more prominently than his other victims. A wild theory to explain this is that Freddy actually fathered the teen before his human demise. This is another theory with little evidence to support it, but a creepy and disturbing way to explain his fascination with Nancy. I would like to go ahead and tackle this one, if you guys don't mind, first here.
Have it.
Sure.
So I think his fascination with Nancy is because he was a creepy fucking predator, and she was probably one of his favorite little girls because he's a sick fuck. I don't think it really needs any more explanation than that. I mean, I think all rapists, Shawn could probably testify or attest to this, that all rapists probably have their favorite victims. There's probably a specific pair of panties in that bag that you really want to get your nose in. And I think that in the case of Freddy Krueger, it was probably fucking Nancy.
Wow.
These ones have the best smell.
I have
You
this
can smell the
vivid image,
fear.
and I promise it's going to be hilarious when it happens to me. I'm going to write something. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to become this famous actor. And 10 years from now, some motherfucker is going to dig up this interview and be like,
Yep.
so why don't you tell us about being an admitted rapist? I'm going to be like, you got to be shitting me. And I'm going to be like, you know what? Get Jake up here. I want to make him famous.
Well, you know what? I would be happy. They can dig this up.
Oh my God.
You can dig this up anytime you'd like, and I'd be happy to share this with the world because it'd be fun to at least say I had one video that had more than 10 viewers.
That's going to be funny. I'm going to laugh.
So here's one that I think Rob might have an opinion on. It's the inter-universe creations of Gremlins and Mandalorian. This popular theory surrounding the Gremlins movie crosses genres and worlds. Despite the lack of relationship between these two franchises, viewers are convinced that Gizmo and Grogu from The Mandalorian are the same species. Basically because of the fucking ears, nose, stature, that.
I got to look that one up.
Considering that Grogu basically turns into Yoda, that's an aged variation of his species. And we don't see anything like that with any of the Gremlins. I mean, it's far-fetched.
I think it's horseshit.
Yeah, I'm not really digging that too much. I mean, I guess if a Mogwai from Gremlins ages hundreds of years, because after 60, I think Grogu is like 50, 60 years old in the show. And he's still a baby, basically. I don't know how long they live, but oh boy, it's up there.
Well, has Grogu ever gotten wet? And not just from like Shawn's dashing looks or anything, but I mean, like, has anybody ever splashed that fucker with water?
I'm sure it happens.
Well, and he doesn't turn into 5 billion fucking, human-eating gremlins, so.
Yeah. Definitely like eats after midnight and everything, and getting
especially frogs,
eating soup. Yeah, and frog soup.
He's eating frogs at 1:30 in the morning, and he's good. So
blue milk Oreos.
It's fucking stupid. That's a fucking stupid theory. They don't look anything alike, in my opinion. They're both just little and cute. And besides, when Yoda's like fully grown, when Yoda's like an old man, and he's fully grown. He's like what, like a fourth of the size of Luke, whereas a Mogwai would still be like this big. So Yeah, they don't really. It doesn't add. It's bullshit.
That was a stretch.
Yeah,
That was a big stretch.
I agree.
I think they took two cutesy characters and were like, maybe these are the same. Like Gizmo has got hair on him. Ragu doesn't have any hair on him, so it's
They
like
both have
at
big
all
fucking
ever.
ears.
Right, and huge ears. I mean, well, both of them had big ears, but like still, it's a stretch.
And they both live a very long time, so like it's got a few similarities. It's not as many as like, Pennywise and Mary Poppins, but
Unless you want to go into something like one of them is an evolutionary change from one to another, like Ragu is in the future and the gremlins are from our time, and maybe the gremlins somehow matured into Ragu or some shit like that. Unless you tried to do some weird thing like that.
well, Star Wars is in a galaxy far away, and a long time ago. So maybe the evolutionary chain could be something, and they just happen to end up here on Earth.
With that being said, though, like we all could be in the fucking Star Wars universe. Everything could be in the fucking Star Wars universe. I mean,
it's littered with humans. So
yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's a stretch, but fuck it, we could all exist at the same time.
Yeah.
Star Wars reality.
Womp womp.
So here's one that I really like. I actually kind of dig this one quite a bit. So if you're familiar with the name Sam Loomis, Sam Loomis was the boyfriend to Marion Crane, who helped stop Norman Bates in Hitchcock's Psycho. While many assume Dr. Sam Loomis in Halloween was a homage to Hitchcock's horror legacy, others have taken this similarity and ran with it. People saying that the boyfriend of Marion Crane, now they did admit in this that there were timeline snafus with this theory, but the idea that Sam Loomis, who was involved with stopping Norman Bates, kind of got really into criminology, psychology, and whatnot, and eventually became the one chasing down Michael Myers, I think that's a fucking dope-ass theory. I enjoy that a lot. So I want to share that because that's kind of, I don't know, one that I like that. Because I really enjoy Psycho, one of my faves. And as much as I'm not really a fan of Halloween, I think I'd like Halloween more if that were true.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, I would like to know more about it. I don't hate that theory.
Yeah. See if there's more about it. I might have more about it. Let's see. An interesting theory behind this is that Sam's experience with Norman Bates encouraged him to pursue a career in psychology. I already said that, making him the same Sam Loomis in Halloween. But there may be some timeline discrepancies, which I already mentioned, with this theory, and no crucial evidence in the later film to support it. This strange fan theory is one of the most likely among the different horror movie speculations. So it is likely, they say.
Okay.
Probably more likely than the Grogu fucking...
I guess likely because you can't immediately debunk it, maybe? I don't know.
And because like they got the same friggin' name.
Boom.
Yeah.
Same name. It's got to be the same guy.
I didn't even know his first name was Sam. But I don't know. Loomis. I just remember him as Dr. Loomis or whatever.
Well, they also used Loomis in the Scream movie, which I think was also paying homage to who was the Loomis in the Scream movie? It was Billy Loomis, which was Skeet Ulrich in the first Scream movie.
First Scream movie.
Yeah, the first Scream movie, which that's another theory I came across, but I wasn't even really going to bring that up, is that they're saying that Stu, who was Matthew Lillard in the first Scream movie, is still alive. Which who even gives a fuck if they bring him back or not? I stopped watching Scream after like the third one because they're just fucking terrible and they need to stop. So, fuck it.
It just progressively got worse. Yeah.
It really did. It's like how many times, and I've said this in a previous show, just bitching about things, that how many fucking ways can you find somebody connected to this girl to try to kill her? Like, it doesn't even fucking make sense anymore.
And still fail.
And they still fail every fucking time. And she's just like, I'm not saying that she's just a chick. I don't mean it like that. Like, she's obviously got her whatever abilities, but it's not like she's some fucking Bruce Lee Kung Fu fucking master here. I mean, and especially after the last killer's done, like, you know, she's probably dropped her guard a little bit. Why don't you stop fucking with her and just go ahead and do the deed if you want to get it fucking done?
Right.
I think the last Scream movie should be 3 fucking minutes, and it should be just somebody coming up behind her and cutting her fucking throat and watching her bleed to death.
Done.
pan up, boom, Terrifier clown. Fuck it, there you go.
Done. Right.
'Cause at
So it's
least
got to
he
be a
doesn't need
lot
that
of
reason.
blood, is what you're saying.
Well,
A whole
it's
lot of
that
blood.
maybe somebody needs to take her out
Better
that
be.
doesn't really have a fucking reason. That's all I'm saying, because there seems to be all these stupid fucking reasons, which most of them are, I just want to get famous and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you fucking kill other people. Charles Manson's the most famous serial killer alive, and he killed, like, an actress that was barely known. It's not
Yep.
like Sidney Prescott's the only fucking game in town. That's all I'm saying.
He could have found a Sidney Prescott lookalike and gotten that taken care of by now.
Exactly. Could have been fucking over. I mean, and I think they did do that in one of the movies. They actually found people with similar names or some shit to like prove that they were like redoing the killings or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Something fucking stupid. Anyway, we've hit our hour mark here. One thing about the show is we could go on forever, but we try not to because we don't want to bore the fans to death. So we have a tradition here, Shawn. Whenever we finish up an episode, we typically do a recommendation movie.
Okay.
And we also end with a quote that I find from a horror movie that I want to share. So since you're our guest, if you want to go ahead, if you need time to prepare, that's fine. But if you have a recommendation of a horror-ish type movie that you would like to recommend.
Wow. Yeah, give me a second with that one.
Okay. How about you, Rob? You prepared?
Sure. Well, yeah, no, I thought of this while we were filming as a kick to Imperium, starring right here, Shawn. I'm going to recommend a movie that is close to it called The Green Room, starring
fuck yeah.
Anton Yeltsin and Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart himself, as a leader of a neo-Nazi band, like a group.
It's believable
and
because he's bald.
just the wild antics that ensue, and seeing him in such a different role is just wild. It's a really good movie. It's not necessarily horror. It's very suspenseful.
Yeah.
But it's about a bunch of old, like, young libertarian or just leftist people that Nazis would hate.
Gotcha. Wow.
And being stuck in a very small enclosed space with a group of neo-Nazis.
Okay. Wow. It's a good one.
I'm gonna have to watch that one.
It's I let's see, it's director is Jeremy Saulnier. I don't know who that is off the top of my head. But
If anybody knew, it'd be Jen.
it would be it's just a really good movie. I should know who that director is now because I enjoyed that movie so much. But I have a little bit more
Sounds
work
like you
ahead of
really
me.
enjoyed that movie.
I did.
Okay.
That is my
Yeah.
recommendation.
Jen,
I
you
go
got
next?
one?
I was not prepared. I'm sorry. I totally didn't even think of one really. But I can let you know of a movie that I just recently watched. I watched it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Fuck it. Go for it. Did you
I
like it?
watched it was okay.
So just to be clear,
It's
it's not really a
alright.
recommendation. This is just something Jen stories.
It wasn't bad. It's just I didn't love it. It takes a lot
Okay.
for a movie to, be one that I love. I think it was called, I forgot the real title. I think it's called The First Omen. It's the new
Okay.
Omen movie.
Isn't it
Have you
called The
guys
First
watched
Omen?
it? That's what I
Yeah.
said. The First Omen.
Maybe you said you. Okay. I
No,
got you.
it's a prequel from the 80s.
Because it's the
from
first
80s
one.
Omen.
So it's
Yeah.
like before the others.
Pretty sure it's named The First Omen, but I might have to look that one up just to make sure.
Yeah. It came out this year.
I believe it did, yes.
Yeah.
That sounds
That's
like
what
a
it's
fitting
called.
name for a prequel.
Yes. That
It
is it.
It is called The First Omen. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes I'm bad with names, like as far as
I
the
like-
name of a movie that I just watched. I like
I
forget
like
the
that they
name.
call it The First Omen, though, and not
Yeah.
The Omen the Beginning. Because I'm so sick of we want to do a prequel. What should we call it? Blah, 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 the fucking beginning. Like, okay.
Yeah. Been
Calling
done so
out
many
the
times.
Exorcist series.
I mean, in general, let's just fucking call it like the prequel. Let's just fucking say like, hey, yeah, here's a Halloween prequel. That's the name of it. Fuck it. First Omen. I like it. To the point, we get it. So Jen, what do you guys say about it? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's very long. It's 2 hours long.
Because Rob would love it.
I mean, it's a little bit of a slow burn at times, yes, which I do not mind. But you know what? What I didn't like about it is that they don't have that much of the actual devil in it. If they had more of the devil, I think I might like it more. Kind of sounds bad, but yeah.
I take it nobody was gooey in this movie.
There is some goo. Yeah. And there are some attractive women in it.
I like attractive women.
Yes.
That's one of my
favorite just to rope you
in.
Hey, I mean, the right women, I might watch it for that. I'm not trying to be like one of those thirsty dudes, but I mean, I still have a penis.
Yeah, it was an alright movie though.
Probably more than I do.
Okay.
Anyway, so Jen gives it about a 1 on the goo scale. Shawn, what you got, buddy?
So are we? Does this have to be anything like super new, or just anything that I definitely think people just need to see?
Anything that you feel like the people need to see.
Whatever you want.
I'm always leaning towards a good thriller. I think one of the ones that comes to mind off the top of my head, one of my personal favorites that kind of fucked me up for a long time was Memento.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the reason that one comes, so when I was in the Navy, I was on watch, and then they knew when you're underway, they normally do like movie nights, and they'll be playing a movie. So when I came down to my bunk, I was in this one area of it where it was just like a bunch of us. They stuck us all in the same spot in the front of the ship, and they had the movie playing. And you know, for anybody who's ever watched Memento, the middle of the movie looks like the beginning of the movie, right? To the end. So I walked in on it and I immediately got engrossed in it, like, yo, what the fuck is this? This is awesome. And then it went off and I was like, wait, I thought it just started. They were like, nah, it's been on for like an hour. I was like, well, what the fuck? So then I went and I started asking people, yo, does anybody know what the name of this movie is? Nobody had a fucking clue, including the guy who put it on. Like, literally, what? No. Well, can you at least look it up? Nah, I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was.
But that's fitting to the movie.
A good 3 years.
They should have wrote it down on there.
Right, you would think so. Like something. It took me a good 3 or 4 years before I found out what the name of the movie was. I went back and watched it, and it became one of my favorite films. Just because the reason it messed with me so much is because I like stuff that makes me go, wow, that would be really fucked up, because there's so much more to it than just what you see. Imagine if your memory was so short term, people had to help you remember stuff. So now you don't know what reality is. So even what we saw might not have been reality either.
I like that.
That's what kept fucking with me.
Yeah.
I dig it. I like that.
So
the guy that I agree with Jen, the guy that forgot the name of the movie should have tattooed it on himself so he could fucking remember it, because that was
that's the first of the whole film, right? Exactly.
That's great that a movie.
Literally, anybody that's worth it. Yeah.
I do love that everyone else that watched it was like, I don't know what the name of it was. I don't
remember.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Very fitting.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and recommend a movie I saw recently that I really enjoyed. It's called Lowlifes. And
where did you hear that movie from? Who?
Actually, no, I really do want to recommend that movie though. I want to double down on Jen's recommendation from last week.
I did that last time, yeah.
I know, but I'm doubling down. Because I liked it. It's something that I feel like I would watch again.
Okay.
It's very enjoyable. The only critique I have about the movie is that they probably could have let the lesbianism last a little longer. But besides that, very good movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I actually, Jen said the end was predictable, and maybe I didn't really want to admit this because I didn't want to feel stupid, but like I kind of didn't see it coming. I mean, I saw like, that as it was happening, I was like, that makes sense, but I didn't like. I couldn't have predicted that 5 minutes before it happened. Like, and I'm not even going to tell the fucking ending on this one, which I always believe in telling the ending, because if you haven't seen it, fuck you. That's my philosophy. But I'm not going to tell you the ending of this movie because I actually enjoyed it and I thought it was kind of cool. It's it's like one of those standard horror movies. It's not like going to be my favorite, but there's those movies that belong on the shelf. Wrong Turn is one of those movies. Joyride is one of those movies. There's just these movies that, like, they may not be your favorites, but they definitely fucking belong on the shelf. And that's, I think Low Lifes is one of those movies.
All right.
So, with that being said, before I get to my quote here, I would like to thank Shawn for coming on. This has been fantastic, man. I've loved having you on. I don't see you nearly enough.
You're right.
And you definitely need to come back again sometime, for sure. And yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your stories. And I lost the quote I was going to say, so give me one second here.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Shawn.
Absolutely, I appreciate y'all. This has been a lot of fun, so I'll definitely be back.
Look forward to it happening again.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
most definitely.
Now that he's been on and realized that it's fun, maybe he'll be back. And especially if you end up doing anything else, I mean, we have like 3 viewers you could plug your success to. So,
yes.
Actually, I think we just got 70 subscribers. We almost have more videos than subscribers at this point, but we don't advertise a whole lot, which I'm going to start doing. And, anyway, to the fucking quote already. Your suffering will be legendary, even in hell.
Nice.
You've been listening to Psychopinion. If it's anything horror, we're talking about it.